Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. Today we're going to take a somewhat in-depth look at platinum and its prices. We're going to try to see if platinum is one of those metals that should be considered an investment or possibly a hedge, or maybe a little bit of both. What you see here before you is a chart that goes back to about 1994 for Bunny Metals Exchange that shows the price levels from back to that point. We're going to take a look at platinum in and of itself and analyze and see if we can make sense of where the price movement is and how it could be best served in a portfolio. Then we'll compare it to gold and silver in other ways in terms of its hedging situation, and also about where we think it could possibly go in the future, considering its rarity and where the price movement has been in the past. So let's explore and come to some conclusions. So in this chart, we can easily see here how the price has moved over since about 1994, quite a while ago. And we can see in some aspects like silver, it has kind of relatively stayed stable for a long time during the last half of the 1990s. Then we've seen increases and downward trends, and we've seen some dips and times where it's performed very well, especially compared to gold. But what is it about this metal that makes it so special to make it go up? Because rarity does not necessarily translate to value per se. But in the case of platinum, it is much rarer than gold, and for the most part, or for a lot of time anyway, it was higher priced than gold. And we can see here through time, the prices steadily went up, even through the boom of the mid-2000s here, and through the early 2000s, and kind of dipped down, but then kind of went back up, and then we had the recession hit. And then 2000, and right at the recession is when we saw peak platinum, at least according to this chart here, which is quite fascinating to see that it got up to $1,900 at that time. And then it just dropped. It tanked back down quite substantially here towards the end of the year. And that was before the 2011 spikes of gold and silver. So what happened here? Was there something happened in Russia? I believe there was something that happened. There's only a few places that platinum is produced. Russia and South Africa, I think, are the two largest producers of platinum. It is rarer than gold, much rarer than gold, and I consider it a fringe precious metal. And so when you have supply issues or production issues or geopolitics that come into play, that can greatly affect the price. And considering its use as a catalytic converter, it's one of really only two metals that are used in that aspect frequently, and that is platinum and palladium. And so both of those metals are rare. In fact, palladium is even more rare than platinum. So when you see this kind of disruption and you see the price spike up like that, but then fall, it makes you wonder if there's something else at play going on geopolitically that's going on there. So we saw the price dip back down here in 2008. It is still a little bit more than it is today. And in fact, we've seen the price steadily go back up through the recessionary period, still not on par with gold. In fact, that's kind of where the parity stopped, or that was inversed, really, with gold. And then we've seen the price move back up almost in this period towards the end of 2011. It almost got to the highs that it got before, but not quite reached it. And ever since then, it's taken a move up and down, but steadily it's kind of been moving back down. And actually, the last time it has hit over $1,000 was back in 2016. And ever since then, it's flirted with a little bit, but now it's well below $1,000. But if you look at the over that period of time, dating all the way back to mid to late 1994, at $800, let's say, it is still almost double what it was back in 1994. We've not seen these lows since then, going that far back. So that makes you wonder, hey, is it a hedge? It's double what it was before. Right now, it is double than what it was back in this time. And do we ever think that it'll ever get back down that low? In fact, there's been times where it's been under, well under $400, but still above gold. So could we ever see a time where it will go back to that level? My guess is probably not. If you bought any platinum back then, you're doing much better today, as it's double the price. But now, given that these are not inflation adjusted prices though either. So take that into account. In fact, this chart I don't think has an inflation adjusted prices. But if you double that amount, well, if you were to adjust these for inflation, you could probably make a case that it is not kept up with inflation, at least where these price levels are at here. But for the vast majority of the time, this price jump here in the first half of this decade, we have seen substantial increases in the price, and I believe that those are the levels, and that's kind of the volatility of it. Its movements and its fact that in some ways it's not tied to gold or silver in that regard, because it is a fringe precious metal. It is used as an industrial application for the most part. It does obviously have jewelry and investment grade bullion and coins and bars and the like, and even less of that with palladium. But palladium is now the king of all the precious metals aside from rhodium, and which is very rare. But I think it's something that we should take into account and consider what is going on here with platinum, and where will it go in the future based off the things that we've talked about. And that's what we'll explore next. But before, let's take a look at platinum prices here from macro trends, because it does have it going back to 1985. It's not a 100-year chart, but it gives you a better idea. Unfortunately, this does not have inflation adjusted, so we have to kind of make a guess here. And if you look at here at the price going back to, well, this shows 85. It actually does show going back to 1969. I don't know why it says 1985 here. But on the gold inflation adjusted, we can see here that if you take off the inflation adjusted for that, and you go down to where it was, let's see if we can go to 1969, 41.88. So 41.88, 1969, and we go to platinum in 1969. 159, so much higher there. Let's just say it's $99 there, and here it is $830, and so you inflate adjust this, and you can see there that in 1969, $230 around there, around that time in 1969, $289. And so you can see that platinum has done well. I wish they really had that there to kind of give you a better idea. But I think that obviously it's volatile, and to calculate that with platinum is probably going to be more difficult. But with gold, it's obvious that it has done well over the long run, but there's been times where gold has not done well, inflation adjusted, for price over the years. But in the end, compared to the long span of time, it's less likely to hit these low lows. And I believe to a large part, that's going to be the case with platinum as well, but maybe not as much. I mean, to me, it's quite interesting to see the volatility in this metal, and it's very sensitive in the movement of it with regards to things like the price compared to the supply, the demand, the uses. Some people say that platinum may not do very well in the age of electric vehicles, but if they use fuel cell technologies for the batteries, because the plug-ins probably are not going to be practical. You're probably going to want fuel cell technology, and that development will use things like silver, things like platinum. In fact, there was an article I covered recently where I talked about fuel cell technology and the use of platinum to basically be the equivalent of what's used in catalytic converters in today's gasoline powered cars. So we will see where things go and with platinum in the future, but I believe it's a good hold. I believe it's a little riskier, I think, than gold. And maybe the best way to compare the two is just the real price adjustment here, because you can see here that it's gone up. So if you adjust this for inflation, it's going to be much more even out, whereas platinum here will be, I think, more volatile during those periods. So there you go. There you have it. I think it's interesting. This is sort of a stream of consciousness, kind of look at this, kind of discovering as I look at these charts and come to things. You guys may see this information and draw some other conclusions. Post your thoughts below. I think it's fascinating to see where things are with platinum. And maybe in time I might do a more thorough video about this and kind of collect the thoughts about it. But this is just something I kind of wanted to do in the interim to kind of just explore this as we go and see how it pans out. You know, and it's amazing too how you see the different views of charts over time, how one source may show it one way, and through the 90s you see that this is that period of the late 90s where it was pretty stable, but in the early 90s it was considerably higher. The recessions, look at the effect of the recessions. There's movement. And usually that movement is a spike down during the recessions because there's less demand of it. And so because of as a commodity, that it tends to have the inverse effect with platinum that it does with gold, and to some extent. Gold tends to jump up during recessions or towards the end of recessions or right in the middle of them. And so we'll see how it plays out. Post your thoughts below. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for watching and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.